Hey,
Hello.
don't gotta get ready if you stay ready.
We are ready.
What's up, everybody?
Let's see. I'm seeing if Janelle's on here.
Oh, Jasmine Vale,
Jasmine.
what's up? Good to see a
Kent.
friendly face.
Yes.
It's the Thurtons here. Excited to be live with y'all.
Yes, I'm Brooke.
And I'm Chris.
And we have some great questions tonight for the college Q&A. And we also have some great people to bring on this IG Live with us to talk through some of these things.
Absolutely.
But we're just excited to talk about stuff.
I'm excited. I'm excited because this is the first time we've gone live together.
Yes.
So
it's kind of awkward to be like this on the
monumental. I feel very close, and it's all right. But I'm really hyped. I'm excited to talk with y'all tonight, and we got our first friend.
Yes.
Hopping on.
We posted about it in the story, but we're gonna. First things first.
Janelle.
Some of you might know her.
She's the best.
Where's she at?
Hey!
Janelle,
What it do?
Hey! What's poppin'?
How you doing? I'm gonna fix our screen. How you doing?
Wow, you guys are squished into it. Fuck.
Yeah.
We gotta be. Here we are.
I don't think Instagram Live was made for two people to be on it.
Yeah, I don't think
But we're doing it. Why not?
I saw Judah Smith and his wife do it, and they had a better setup than us, but we'll do what we can.
Probably fine though.
Yeah, that's all right. We're going to have some fun.
Yes.
Juno, thanks for being with us.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself for people that either know you or don't know you?
Okay, well, my name is Janelle Marinas with the R and the Nye. Okay? It's not Marinas. And I'm from Kent, Washington.
Hey,
Kent.
Any Kent
Forever.
on here?
We love the surrounding areas as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we, from that South Puget Sound area.
You're repping.
Hold it for the pick. I see you.
Oh, yeah. And I work for University Ministries currently with Brooke and Thurton.
Yep.
What up, though?
So, like, if y'all are going to school in Seattle next year, hit us up.
Yes.
For real.
Yay.
Would love to kick it with you.
Yes, and Janelle, before you were working here, what were you doing?
I was going to say suffering through UW, but okay, education is a privilege.
Yes.
I will say it was a really great time. I graduated from UW Public Health, which was a lot of fun. Broke my heart a lot, honestly, but that's where we are, and that's where I'm still pursuing. So I love public health.
There you go.
Yes, you do. That's awesome.
Love that.
Fun. Well, we have a couple questions for you for this
Beautiful.
time. So with this discipleship experience that we're doing, we have a lot of juniors and seniors who are graduating soon and kind of looking at what's next for them. For many, that can be college and university. For many, it's community college. For many, it's working. For many, it's staying at home. There's just so many different ways that we can go. But we have you on the call for right now. And so I would love just to hear a little bit about your experience with going to UW. And yeah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your transition kind of from graduating into your freshman year of college?
Yeah. So for me, it was a little different than a lot of freshman experiences might have been. I actually commuted from Kent. I was leading Kent Young Life at the time, so I was like, I want to just stick around and hang out with, like, all of my girls are my neighbors. So I was like, this is the perfect setup. So I actually commuted. But what I will say, I did eventually move up to Seattle because commuting is hard. So props to anyone who commutes through the whole 4 years. Yes, commuters, it's not a joke. 3 hours a day, at least, maybe. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but that's. I just want to say that's the lens that I'm coming from. My freshman year, and so yeah, a lot of my community was my Young Life community back home.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Could you take us through as you started to like be at UW maybe a little bit more? What was it like for you to make new friends? How did you go into that and through that process?
Yeah.
Very.
Because that's one of the questions. Yeah, that's one of the questions we got was how to put yourself out there and make new friends.
I just want to know personally, I could use that skill.
Yeah. Honestly, putting yourself out there, it's part of it is acknowledging that friends are not just going to fall in your lap in college. Acknowledge that, like, high school, a lot of times it's who you grew up with, right? And so a lot of times it's just so much easier to talk to someone that you've seen for a lot of us our whole lives. It's the mindset of acknowledging, like, not everyone's just gonna fall in your lap. Some people do. Some relationships just start out that way. Some of my relationships, I was like dancing like over here, and then another person, now like one of my really great friends, was dancing over here, and then we made eye contact, and like we were the only ones like dancing in our like individual circles, like no one else. Anyway, we made eye contact, and so sometimes they do fall in your lap, but honestly, like, those are miracles. What I'll say, honestly, what I will say about making friends at university, at college, like away from home, like it's part of it is just being uncomfortable and going to places sometimes by yourself, or maybe you get a roommate in a dorm, and then you'd be like, hey, like, do you want to try this place with me? And you know what? They're probably in the same boat of just like, I don't have any friends here. Let's freaking do it.
Yes.
Acknowledging people are in that same space as you.
Yes, I think that is so important of like, we can get stuck in our own minds of like, oh, everyone else has it figured out. I don't have it figured out, but they must have it figured out. When the reality is nobody has it figured out.
Especially like those first couple weeks of school, it's like, I'm trying to make friends. Oh, everybody else is trying to make friends too?
You're also trying to make friends.
Yo,
let's do it together.
Your friends get with my friends. Let's be friends. That's fantastic.
Amen.
Biggie told me that. If you know,
what verse is
the book of Biggie, verse notorious.
Oh my gosh.
Man alive. If you know, you know. Yeah. Okay. So you start making friends, and then you got some friends now. You're at school or wherever you're living now. How do you start to balance like school or work, social life, young life, extra stuff?
Yeah.
Janelle, you're the expert now.
How do we do balance?
I got too much going on in my life. I need balance. Let's be real.
That's a great question. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Let's go. That's honest.
Yeah. What was your experience of that while you were in college, particularly in your freshman year? What was your experience of that?
Yeah, it was absolutely messy. Absolutely messy. I think looking back on my freshman year, there were a lot of times that like I kind of like in my classes I kind of like try to make a friend and then like completely get rejected. Yeah. And then I just like get into like my fear bubble of like, oh, no one wants to talk to me, or like I don't know. I felt like this kind of shame being a commuter also because like people are like, oh, like in my head, like I would think that commuters are looked down upon because they don't live on campus, which lie, like whatever. And so I think there's a lot of insecurities that were coming from my circumstances that I thought like I was less than because of those circumstances. And so finding kind of going back to the other question actually, and I'll come back to this question, but like being okay with rejection, like just because you get rejected by someone once doesn't mean like your whole, like everyone at the college sucks. like there are nice people and there are people who also want to make friends, but I will say like don't just try one thing once, give it a couple tries, because sometimes the first impression is not going to be the whole experience. Going back to the balance with work, school, social life, extras, I don't even want to get into, like, I can't count it on like my hands of things that I got involved in. And you know what? There were a lot of things that I excelled at and a lot of other things that kind of just fell behind, in all honesty. And I think looking back at it now, there's another mindset thing, right? It's I heard a really great message a few weeks ago talking about being in the same storm but not being in the same boat. And so finding balance, part of that is just stop comparing myself to other people and like, oh, like that person's like in a sorority pretty. She has it all together. She's all in these clubs and she has really great grades. And like, she's doing really well, but I'm not. Like, why am I not doing well? It's like, we're on different boats. We're in the same college storm because honestly, college, it's a whirlwind. But we're in different boats, and I have to acknowledge that I have different things in my life. I had to make time for my family. I had to make time for my friends. I had to make time for work. I had to make time for my Young Life gals. I had to make time for, I'm not going to go into it. But one thing I also,
but you have to make time.
You got to make time. Also, you're allowed to say no to things.
Uh-oh.
Tell them.
Yeah.
You tell them.
How to say no. Or you know what? If you're listening to me right now, learn how to say no. Say it. You don't have to say yes to everything. Not every opportunity for you. That's fine.
Janelle said it. I dig it.
Yes. Janelle, I imagine though it was such like even as you talk about it, like there's a lot of things that you had said yes to. But I imagine you just learned through it. Like you learned what your capacity was, and part of it was just saying yes to things and then learning like, oh, I can't do all these things, or like how am I doing in the midst of all of this? And part of that's part of the experience also is just learning that for yourself. And so you went through it and you're like, oh, I can't do all this. I'm not doing all this, and that's good. That's fine. Like that's also part of what this is. Like this next season of life is a lot of figuring it out. But as you said it earlier, just it's also having grace for yourself.
Yeah.
And saying maybe I got it right, but I don't need to compare myself to the person next to me.
Yeah.
And see what they're doing. I'm figuring out what I'm doing.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Another great thing that one of my areas.
I love that idea, like learning to have grace for yourself.
Oh, you go.
You go.
One last
it's your time.
About that.
Yeah.
One of my area directors. I love Megan Jones. Before Megan Jones, I think she's gonna watch this. So shout out Megan Jones, you the best. Before Megan Jones was our area director, Nick Scott Wood was our area director, and he told me to say no. He told me to say no to him, and that was great. Another thing he said, he was like, you can't do that, which most times when people say you can't do that, I'm just like, watch me. But he said something really profound, because I wanted to do, I was doing Young Life. Then he was talking about like, oh, wildlife is starting here. Oh, like Young Lives with like teen moms is starting here. Young Life Capernaum is starting here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like all these things that I want to get involved in, all these really great things. And then he was like, Janelle, you don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to them. Because if you feel like you have more time to say yes to all these other things, then you have time to invest more in your girls. And I was just like,
Yo.
So invest, be wholehearted in the things that you say yes to. Don't just say yes to everything, because then you're going to get stretched out. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to come to a mental breakdown.
It's true. There's a lot of opportunity in a lot of things. Part of it is learning, but you can also practice saying no early and figuring out some of that. Janelle, why don't you also tell us a little bit just about what your faith was like during your freshman year?
Yeah. My faith freshman year, wow, it's a lot of learning. I don't think I know. And I tell my girls this all the time. And if any of them are watching this right now, seriously, shout out to you guys. But leading Young Life, coming back to lead Young Life was huge for me, because I had no idea what I was doing, but I said yes to it. Some things like you say yes to and you have no idea how to do it. And then you pray a lot, and you like are forced to pray a lot, because like, it's like, God, I have no idea what I'm doing, but like you called me to lead these gals, and I'm just like, all right, I don't know how, but like, help me, please. My faith my freshman year was a lot of learning, because I saw my Young Life girls, and I was just like, oh man, I really love them. I want them to learn how to like, I want them to talk to God. I want them to pray to God. I want them to be reading their Bible. I want them to be doing this and that. And it's just like all these really like good and healthy things. And I looked at myself and I was like, I don't know how to do these things, so I'm gonna learn to do these things so I can invite other these gals into it. Leading Young Life, being a freshman in college and leading Young Life, so humbling. It is so humbling. A lot of my faith was just like really wanting to serve people, and through that I learned how to do things for myself as well.
That's really cool.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that y'all brought up this idea of grace. Like, it just sounds like you just got to have a lot of that for yourself to like say no to things, to know what to say yes to when you fall on your face because you messed up, and you got to get back up again. When you drop the ball with people and you got to pick it up. Like,
yes, sir.
Man alive, learning to just have like grace and like forgive yourself and like learning to like see yourself accurately in your strengths and like the things that you don't have what you need. Like, that's so huge.
It is huge.
That's cool. That's really cool. Man alive. Janelle, it's so fantastic to hear from you with that. Do you have any like words of advice? Anything you want to leave with these young people headed off into the next stage of life? What's a word of advice you got for people?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Actually,
you can get more.
You know what? You can be afraid. Ask them anyway, though. Ask them anyway.
Yes.
You don't have to be unafraid to ask a question. Ask it anyway.
That's beautiful.
In class, at church, anywhere in your life, don't be afraid to ask questions, because someone probably has the same question as you.
Yes.
Wrestle. God can take your wrestling. He can take your doubts. He can take your madness. He can take your mental breakdowns. He can take all of it. Wrestle with the Lord. Wrestle in class. Not me, not physically. But if that happens, like, it's not my life.
That's so
but
good.
ask questions and wrestle. That's me.
Oh gosh.
I love that, because fear is gonna be there, right? Like, fear is always gonna be there. Like, fear is just like a part of life. How do we not let that fear paralyze us and like move through that and like ask those questions, take those steps, take those risks? That's awesome. I'm learning stuff. You're teaching me.
Yeah. Faith is just so much a part of faith is that asking questions and going to God with them and saying, I don't understand this, or help me understand this.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense in my world, in my context. All of those things, like bringing that to God. And that's like a muscle that we learn to grow. But it's so, I love that you said that, because there are so many things that come up in this next season of life, from like graduating high school into whatever is next, and the ability to be just asking questions and being a learner of your own world and others' world.
Yes.
It's huge.
That's awesome, Janelle.
Janelle.
Hey, before we let you go, I got a question. I'm gonna put you on the spot. You got any recommendations for us? Something, anything that you just recommend that you're like, I'm about this right now and the people need to know. A recommendation.
Chip Happens ice cream from Ben.
Trip Happens
No,
ice cream.
Chip Happens.
Chip Happens.
Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
It's a limited batch.
Batch?
Oh, no, batch.
I didn't botch it all up.
It's a limited batch. That's what I would recommend. Also would recommend, if you're in the Seattle area, go to the In Seattle.
Oh.
We're great learners at the In Seattle. We love to learn about people. We love to learn about the Lord. We love real life with Jesus Christ, even if real life is in the middle of a freaking pandemic.
That's a
I
word.
promise we didn't pay her to say that.
Yeah.
I also work there. So.
Okay, Janelle, it's been awesome hearing from you. I'm going to figure this out on Instagram Live. I don't necessarily know how to do it, but we're going to say goodbye to Janelle.
Bye.
Thank you, Juno.
Thank you, Juno. Remove. Okay, boom.
Yo, she's a rock star.
She is awesome. And now I'm going to see how we can add. Oh, wow.
Dom?
Is Dom here?
Let's go. Come on. There he is.
Yo.
We got our next guest on this Instagram Live, and it's Dom Fulkins, area director in West Seattle.
Can we just talk about the Sonics beanie you got on right now, though?
Honestly, bro, 2 reasons why I'm wearing the beanie. One, because I try to be all artsy and do this outside. and it's cold.
Yo.
Yeah.
And 2, because I miss my barber. It's been a long time. So
Hey, preach to the choir.
yeah, bro.
It's no joke, man. But I like that bean though. You chose the right one.
Yeah, man. How you guys doing?
We're good.
Yeah, we're doing great.
How you doing? How you holding up, man?
Introvert life, man. I'm loving it.
Yo.
Awesome.
Talking about us too.
Yes.
Us
Yeah.
too. It's
Us
crazy
as
they got 3 of us introverts on this right now, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, Dom, we are excited to have you on this call just to share a little bit about your experience after high school. But before that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about like who you are, where you're from, a little bit about your Young Life experience, just to give people some background.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Dom Folkens. Clearly, I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, which is south of Seattle, and then around middle school, moved up to Edmonds, Washington. Graduated from Edmonds Woodway High School, class of '09, along with Brooke Thurton. Was Brooke Watson then?
Brooke
Not
Watson?
anymore.
Yeah. Graduated high school, went straight into work. I became a volunteer Young Life leader when I was 19 years old. I was already coaching football, coaching track at the local middle school. Decided to jump into Young Life and be a volunteer leader. And then at 21, came on staff with Young Life and have been on staff with Young Life for the last 8 years.
That's what's up, man.
We love that.
For real. Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you graduating high school and what you did after that? You said you started leading Young Life, but how'd you get there?
Yeah, it was crazy for me. So for me, I'm the second person in my immediate family to graduate high school. So for me, kind of like the pinnacle, the big goal was to graduate high school.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had no idea that college was an option for me. I didn't know what financial aid was. I just remember Miss Baugh was our senior experience teacher, and she had us do a project. Miss Baugh, Gwen, I think her name's Gwendolyn. And she had us do a project about college and just, hey, everyone do a PowerPoint about 3 universities that you might go to. And all I remember was seeing that it would cost me $45,000 to go to college. And I knew that we didn't have that kind of money. So immediately there was no thought around college. I just knew that as soon as I graduate, I'm just going to jump straight into work. So I worked in the food service industry. I worked for Cash and Carry, which is like Costco's little brother.
Shout out.
And then I actually accepted Christ when I was 19 years old and jumped right into youth ministry at that point. So that's how I got involved with Young Life. I already knew students in the community.
Yeah.
And so when I was asked to be a leader, the first time I said no because middle school students are crazy and wild. And then a few months later, I was like, man, I should probably be doing this because I didn't have that kind of influence in my life. So that's how I got involved with Young Life.
That's huge.
Yeah,
man.
that's really awesome. Just even how you got involved in Young Life and then the impact that's had on you. And it is crazy thinking back, like we went to high school together and now we're sitting here on this Instagram Live talking about how to do this transition well. I don't think either of us knew that we'd be doing this.
I could have guessed that you would be doing this, Brooke, but I see someone at least once a month that's like, Dom?
I definitely didn't think I'd be sitting here with both y'all. So here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Well, with that, as you graduated high school and then went straight into work, what did you enjoy about that? What's something that was like positive in that for you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I was raised by a single mom. She was a teen mom of 2. So to have the opportunity to step out and be financially independent was something that I loved, that I craved.
Yeah.
I felt like taking some of that responsibility off my mom was something that I absolutely loved. And I know that a lot of students now have that in mind, and I commend them for that. I think the other thing that I loved was just the adventure. I mean, I was in a season of life of being in the posture of like, God, what do you have for me? Like some of my closest friends are going off to college or moving away for the adventure, whatever it may be. And I have no idea what I'm doing, but here I am. So to have that season of life where my posture was just, God, I have no idea what I'm doing, but send me wherever you want to send me. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
Man, that was a season of life that I really loved.
Yo,
that's awesome.
That's awesome, man. For real. That's dope. And it's cool to just see how that played out for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that. You jumped straight into work. What's something you wish you knew? Like, what's something you know now about what you did that you wish you knew in that moment?
Yeah, it's crazy. So my wife is a school counselor. She's a school counselor at King's. And as I got to watch her do her master's program and learn the job, and then she's been on the job for a few years now, I'm like, I don't remember having ever had a conversation with a school counselor. I think one time I went to the counselor's office because I asked her if I could have a yearbook for free because I just didn't have the money to buy one. And I wasn't going to spend $100 on a yearbook. But aside from that, like, I wish I had the guidance from whether it was a school counselor. I wish I had a Young Life leader. I didn't even know the Young Life was a thing when I was in high school. So I wish I had folks that would have helped me understand and know that college can be an option for anyone. There are ways to work the system. There are ways, financial aid, grants, all those things. So I wish I had that. And then I also wish that I wasn't so stubborn. I think by the time that I learned that college could be an option for me, I was set. Like, I had so many people telling me, like, Dom, you're not really going to be anything of any substance in life without a college degree. And so I was set. I'm like, man, I'm not doing school. I bet you I would qualify for full grants, at least my first year or two. But I was on a mission to prove people wrong. And so I wish that I didn't have that chip on my shoulder. I wish that I would look at things from a different lens.
That's really insightful to hear, just on the things that you wish you had and the voices you wish you had. Something I'm thinking about, even as you say that, of like, you were going through high school and you didn't really have like a counselor or like a school counselor or a Young Life leader or someone that was like kind of guiding you. But then as you started a faith at 19 and then started into that journey, like, how did you find voices in your life, or I guess the question is, how did you find community, and like, what did that mean to you as you were then going through this stage of life of post high school, having a new faith? How did you do that?
Yeah, I think it was a humbling experience for me. When I became a Young Life leader, I got to build relationships with a lot of the parents of students that I got to mentor. And those were some of the first times that I got to watch men love their wives and raise their kids. And I got to watch and develop relationships with people that were just farther along than me and wiser than me. And I love to have this persona that I had everything figured out, but I learned pretty quickly that I need to be okay with being a student of other people. And so I just began to ask other questions like, man, I'm not in school right now, but where do you think that's leading me? Like, what do you think that I'm good at? What do you think that some of my gifts are? I just was willing to change my posture and be willing to learn from folks that were farther ahead. And ultimately that led me to years later enroll in school. And so I'm doing that online now. I'm working on my undergrad and chipping away slowly, but that's where I'm at right now.
That's really awesome. Cool. What prompted you to do that, to go for that degree, like years later after high school? What was like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna get after this?
Yeah, I started to try to develop a long-term vision. So for me, I mean, honestly, the first thing that came to mind is I know that I love to have kids one day. And if my kids are anything like me, I can't imagine telling my son or my daughter, like, you need to get a college degree, knowing that I didn't do that. Like, I just know that my kids would tell me to shut up.
Say less, bro.
But just this idea of legacy, right? Like, I was the second person in my family to graduate high school. And I'm like, what would it look like for me to take it a step further and earn my degree? I watched my mom and my grandma grind hard to raise us. And so I really knew that, not that college is the answer for everyone, but for me, I knew that I needed a degree to fall back on. So just having that long-term vision was something that I absolutely needed. I think the other thing that prompted me too was, I think I needed the confidence that came with passing a class one at a time. I know that for me, especially in the professional world, we're always surrounded by people. The first thing that it seems like people talk about is where they went to school and their college degree. And so, man, I had such a lack of confidence in my intellectual ability, not having had a degree. And so over the last couple of years, just to be able to knock out a class one at a time, man, I think my confidence has been through the roof. And I feel like I'm really becoming who God has designed for me to be, just being able to slowly chip away that degree. So I think that was the other thing that really prompted me to give it a try, and it's been going well.
Wow.
That's huge.
Yes.
And so you said your confidence has been going through the roof, right? I feel like it's got to take a certain amount of confidence to say, you know what, like after being out of school for a while, I'm going to go back to school. How did you like gain confidence, believe in yourself? Like, how did you have that confidence after high school and going through some of those interactions where people are like, oh, I'm talking about my degree, and you're like, oh, I don't got one. How did you like have confidence and like be yourself in that?
I think I just had this mindset of like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I'm going to take one class. And I think I forget who I was talking to. Maybe it was Claire. I think I told Claire, she's my girlfriend at the time, like, I'm only going to take one class. I don't think it's going to go well, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And I took that class, Edmonds Community College, go, whatever they are. I don't even know. I don't even know they are.
Hey, but go there.
Go Edmonds Community College. And so I took one class and I got a 4.0. And I was like shocked. And really, I think what helped me gain confidence was that I realized that really college is just learning how to be resourceful, like learning how to get the right information, learning how to find the answers. And so once I began to do that slowly and become successful, the confidence came from there.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That is huge. I just appreciate you sharing that and that your perspective on having this non-traditional route in the sense of like going straight into college, but how the Lord has shaped you and has used you and where you're at. I feel like that message is so inspiring to so many to be able to see like, oh, I can do something different and God will meet me in that and use me and grow me and be with me. That is so beautiful and so necessary for people to hear. Right. I'm just very thankful.
It's huge.
For you to share that. Oh.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I was just checking Edmonds Community College. I didn't find the name, but I think it has like one of the first like black female presidents, like in like Washington. Wow, it's pretty dope.
That's awesome.
That is though, bro. That's probably why I decided to go there.
That might be misinformation, but I know like it's either Edmonds Community College, it's Edmonds Community College, or like it's one of like the Edmonds colleges up there. It was wild. So
that's awesome.
Look it up. It's cool.
I'll believe it. Awesome. Well, Dom, the final question that we have for you during this time is, what would be a word of advice that you would give to a graduating senior?
Yeah, I think just the three quick things. Have long-term vision. Whether you go off to school, whether you decide to go straight into work, think long-term. Be willing to grind right now so that in 10, 20, 30 years you can be comfortable. I would say have a plan for community, both like-minded community and also folks that are nothing like you.
Yeah.
I think that in high school especially, we tend to surround ourselves with people that are most like us. But step into a new club or find a way to serve, find something to do to where you'll be surrounded by people who are nothing like you. Find an opportunity to serve, constantly have this posture of, God, here I am. Who do you want me to love? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? I think getting really comfortable with just that posture of hands open, God, I'm ready to be used. Whatever it is that you'll have me do, I'm willing to do. So that'd be my advice, whether it's school, whether it's trade school, whatever it is, be willing to do whatever it is that God has for you.
That's awesome.
That's dope, Dom.
Those are wise words.
Man, so grateful for you, bro.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know that I don't love going on live, so I'm for you guys.
That's why we appreciate you. Yo, we put Janelle on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot because you love going live, bro. Do you have any recommendations for people? Anything that you're like, hey, you just got to, I'm about this and you need to know about it. Anything.
Oh, my gosh. I'm about Wale and J. Cole.
Yep.
Roxbury Lanes is a bowling alley in West Seattle.
Yes.
And they have the best chicken wings you will ever have. Now, I don't bowl. There's a casino there. I don't gamble. But the salt and pepper chicken wings at Roxbury Lanes, you have to have it. Yeah. That's all I got. Awesome. That's all I got.
I've gone there just for wings.
You have?
Multiple. Yeah. Bro, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I did. That's the spot. That's the joint.
That's awesome.
I'm hyped you said that.
I love it. Thanks for having me. I love you guys. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate you. Love you, bro.
Yes.
All right, bro.
All right, and we got one more person tonight for our live, we are going to bring on, where's she at? Alyssa. I think she should be coming on soon.
Hey!
Hi!
Hi, how's it going?
It's going so well. How are you?
Good.
We're
Look at
doing
your
great.
beautiful twinkle lights
Yeah,
behind
I
you.
see you.
The aesthetics.
I know it's fun. I love it.
Awesome.
That's dope.
Fun. Well, for those that are on our live, we have Alyssa Windus with us, and she is our next guest on this kind of college Q&A. And Alyssa, you are a college student, or you just graduated. And I would love it if you would just give a little intro for those that are watching, just kind of about who you are, maybe where you're from, kind of your situation. Just give us a little lowdown.
Yeah, so I am originally from Paulsbo, Washington. Well, I was born in California, but moved here when I was 5, and have been in Kitsap County, like Paulsbo, Washington area, and came to UW for college, which was really exciting. But growing up, I went to North Kitsap High School, and I loved high school. High school was super fun. But I also did Running Start. So I did high school for my first 2 years and was at the high school, and then I did Running Start for the second 2 years of high school. So I was doing full-time college while graduating high school, and then technically transferred to UW. But like you go in as a freshman. So that's kind of a little bit of my backstory. I also lead wildlife at North Seattle, which shout out Hamilton. Middle schoolers are crazy and they're super fun.
Yep.
And I love them. I've been leading for the last 3 years, and that's been like such a blessing. Honestly, it's been so much fun. And going to UW has absolutely been a blast too. But that's kind of like where I'm coming from.
Yes. Okay, and so you technically graduated, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Last June.
Last June.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yes.
Let's go.
But technically you're like junior age in college.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
graduated at the end of your sophomore year,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Way to
Yeah.
go.
Yes, that's awesome.
It's honestly been
You're
something
smart.
it's been something that I've been like processing, just of like, wow, I just can't believe like these last 2 years like flew by and that happened. And like I've been learning how to like be proud of it and like not be afraid to like say, yeah, that is a really cool thing, and like I am really proud of it, and this is where I'm at. But also like, I don't want to grow up too fast. Like it's weird. Like it's kind of like in this tension of age and where I'm at and how God worked things out. But yeah.
That is awesome.
Okay, so you did Running Start.
Yeah.
How did that impact your freshman year? So
Yeah.
it's impacted you now because you graduated early, but how did it impact your freshman year, having 2 years under your belt?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So honestly, it was like, I think there's part of it was like, I was just super excited. I kind of had this like little glimpse of what college was like because I was doing Running Start, I was at community college. And so I had this like sense of there's so much freedom in this, and like I get to do fun things, and like I'm kind of creating my own schedule, and like I started working and like making money, and it was like really fun. And I think once I like decided to go to UW for like 2 years, I guess, I was like really excited. I kind of had a glimpse of it, and I was like, I'm so ready for this. But I think going into it, I didn't realize the impact at the time of what it would feel like to be my age, and with people who are really going into it like with 4 years ahead of them, but me like kind of having those 2 years like done, and realizing like because of the way it worked out, like I got to like finish my degree in 2 years, and also I wasn't in the position to just like drag it out longer. Like I can't afford that, and like I really was riding on scholarships for school, and so it was this idea of like, yeah, I gotta get this done. Like I love this, and like I was just so excited for college and what it meant, but also like I was ready to dive in and like get it done. I was really excited, and I think too, doing Running Start, I got the opportunity to like explore a little bit more, and so I already knew like what I wanted to major in, and like I was really pumped about it. But I think it affected me in the sense of like I didn't realize what it would do for me, like with my like social life and like my spiritual life and like my like mental health, and being able to like realize, hey, like I am already this far ahead, and like it felt like I was like split a little bit, like from my age and where others around me were at. And then also like, because of what I did in high school and Running Start and like my credits, I kind of had to identify with like a different group. And so, yeah, there was some like parts of me that I was like, oh, this is kind of challenging. Like I honestly wanted to hide it. Like I remember like a lot of times I wouldn't really talk about it or tell people because I didn't want to be seen as like different or like, I don't know. I just felt like if I said that, it's like, oh, really? Like, oh, so you're like going to be done and like, you're going to be leaving and like all this stuff. I'm like, no, I just got here. Like,
please be my friend.
I know.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah. And then it was just like hard because it's like, oh, like, yeah, I'm only like 18, like, you know, and I don't know. So part of it was tough because it was something that I was kind of hiding back because I just, you know, seemingly different from people my age, but also like I have something to be proud of and this is where God's put me and like I'm excited about it and like so I think my freshman year it was like, oh, how do I balance this and like what do I say to people and what do I not and like how am I identifying with like my friends and like all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting. Yeah.
What I am hearing some of what you say is that like during this year I heard you say the words of like I had so much shame or like I was trying to hide it because I didn't want people to know this about me because I didn't want to be seen as different. I wanted to be essentially what I was hearing, like you want to be included and you wanted to be seen for where you were at, which was a freshman in college. Even though you were in like junior credits. Then you were just articulating of like this kind of confidence started to grow and you was like, no, God has me where I'm at. Can you like elaborate on some of that shift and a little bit of like how that happened and then also I guess just how that happened?
So honestly, I think at first I was realizing like I think things from how I perceived school and like my friends from what happened like with doing Running Start, I did feel like I lost some friendships through that and like realizing like that's okay. But like coming to college, I was like, I don't have anyone going to college. Like I wanted to prioritize like people and my friends and like people who could like build me up and support me. And I think once I started doing that, like going to the inn and like meeting people and like I started putting myself out there and like really I started to open up and people started asking me more questions and really like diving deeper and getting to know me deeper. It was like you can't hide that after so long. And I was realizing like I was realizing that like this is something that people are gonna like accept me for and it's gonna be like fun and they're gonna like I noticed the people around me were the ones who really like pushed me to be like excited about it. Like it wasn't something totally that like I was realizing like on my own. And also it was like God working through those people and those friends and like what they were saying to me and like how they were encouraging me and how like people didn't treat me differently and they were like saying like, no, this is awesome, like this is so exciting, like you're gonna do such great things. And I was also realizing like I lived in like the 5-0 like kind of like Christian housing on like UW campus and like the older girls like took me in like under their wing and like they treated me like their own like friend. And so now all of a sudden I had these people that were like bringing me in and like getting excited for me and like telling me this is awesome. And I had this like I realized I don't know, God kind of used this to give me such a wider range of like friends and people who were behind my corner and like that I could connect with. And I think growing up I felt like I was in this like little like a little bubble, and coming to college it was like wow, like people are amazing. And like I don't know, it just I think the people around me really shifted and changed the way I viewed myself and like just putting myself out there and opening up about my feelings and being able to be friends with people of all ages. I don't know, it was kind of cool. Like I saw God working in it, even though I was kind of like nervous to share stuff like that with people or
and even the perspective that you gain like after the fact where you're like, okay, I went through this, and at the time from what I'm hearing you saying, you're like, I don't like want this to be an identifier of me. I don't want this to be how people see me. And then as time goes on, and now when you look back on it, you're like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. Like God actually used this. God was so present in it to be with me, to provide me with people in different realms, and how much that actually turned out to bless you in your growth and in your faith. And so it's stuff like that where it's like in the moment, we can't really see what God might be doing. But what you just articulated is that like his faithfulness stays with you. Yeah. And even though you were in a spot of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
God is still in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is really encouraging for people to hear, even as a lot of students go through this high school to whatever's next transition. They might be faced with something of like, I don't know if I like this, or I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And some, like, I don't know, some could go both ways, but sometimes it's like perspective helps in that once you kind of take a step back and recognize how God.
Yeah. And there were times where I was like freaking out and I was like, what did I do? Like, like what?
Yes. I
like,
face that like every day.
Yeah, the same.
But then other times and other days and after like a while, it was just like kind of this like idea of just like embracing where you're at and like embracing who you are and embracing like the gift and the path that God's put you on. It's like so freeing, and it just lets you like be who you are. And there's no like, once I let those expectations of me or myself or like my image go, it was like it just, I learned so much from it, and I gained so much like wisdom, and like I said, just like being able to like really dive into relationships with a wide range of people across their whole college like career, like freshman all the way to like senior. I mean, it's just cool.
That's so good.
Wow.
I love what you just said.
Yeah.
That's an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Like that's so unique and so cool. Like,
yes.
Man.
And I imagine that there's students that will watch this that are going through that same thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be what's next for them. And you being someone who has paved the way in that and can be giving these words of wisdom, like, hey, it might be awkward, it might be weird. It's also going to be okay. And that's a lot of our life.
Yeah. Totally. That's honestly a lot of college.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of college.
Good. So, Alyssa, what would be some advice that you would give to someone graduating high school right now and that's moving on to the next phase of life?
Honestly, like something that I would just say is, even like in the challenge of it all and like being uncomfortable and like the fear and like all of the transition, like it's okay, it's gonna be okay, and like step into that and like keep getting after it, like keep putting yourself out there, like keep getting involved. College, it's gonna like, it honestly like expanded my like view of the world so much, and I've become friends with people like I would never have imagined, and I've grown personally so much in like my faith and just like what I want to do and like who I am. I did not experience, like I've experienced so much growth in these last 2 years. It's crazy to think about. Like I'm nowhere the same as I was stepping into college, but like I just want to encourage like them to just get excited. Like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be really good.
Yes.
Like that's you have no idea.
That's awesome.
Oh, Alyssa, I'm just so grateful for you.
Yeah.
Being alive. Like, just, it's great hearing your story on this platform. I know it's going to bless people listening to it. And I just know we're just glad to have you in our lives.
You guys are pretty great, I will say.
Thank you. Okay, final question is, what's a recommendation right now?
That's right. We're asking everybody.
What's a recommendation? Anything.
What are you about?
Shoot. Shout out Criminal Minds. Kind of my favorite show ever. I still have that mug, Thurt.
I got you. Shout out Derek Morgan.
But yeah, honestly, get outside too. Get outside right now.
I like that one.
Go for walks.
Yeah, go for walks. Get outside. 6
feet apart, but go for them walks.
Yep, get outside. Just do it.
Yes, I love that. Well, Alyssa, we're very grateful for you. Thanks for hopping on for this Instagram Live.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Awesome.
Oh, thanks,
Bye,
Alyssa.
guys. See you later.
Awesome. Okay, so to wrap up this time, you can be in here.
Turn the camera away from me.
Sorry. To wrap up this time, we just have really 2 more questions to address for people. And And one of the questions that is really common that kind of comes up with this college and next steps is it bad to live in the Greek community? Or I'm moving into the Greek community. Like, what do you think about that? I've gotten that question a lot over the years. And here's what I'll say to those of you that are considering moving into a fraternity, a sorority, just wherever you're going to college, if you're going to college. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I know that it can be really scary, and there's a lot of stereotypes around it. When I was in college at the University of Washington, I was in a sorority for all 4 years, and it was really difficult. There's a lot of trials and testing that comes up, but I would really say that there's opportunity with it as well, and it's more so just about your mentality going into it of what you want out of that experience. A way that I've thought about it kind of over the years is that the Greek community has a culture. It has a stereotype, and it has, a culture. And you can either choose to go in and be affected by that culture, or you can recognize that you carry a culture in who you are, and you can take that culture into that space. And that's just a slight shift of, am I going to let this affect me, or how am I going to go in and affect this? And not that we're just going to go in and like change a bunch of things, but even the way that I looked at some of the relationships and friendships I had with girls in my house, of like just opportunity to be friends with them and to get to know them and to live life with them and to just be someone constant in their life. That was just a different shift for me. And I really enjoyed that space. It's great for some, it's not great for others. And if you look at it and think it might not be great for you, it might not be setting yourself up for success, then I'd ask you to invite people into that decision with you. And that was another piece for me, is that I had people in that decision with me to help me make that. And I felt confident that that's a space that God had called me into. And so I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I wouldn't say it's wrong. I'd say think it through. It can be great. It can also be really hard and really challenging. But I did it, and I think I turned out fine.
You're pretty good.
Thanks. There's one more question.
I dig you. Okay, so last question is, how do you adjust to living at home? Before I answer that,
to not living at home?
To not living at home. Before I answer that, I want to fact check myself. Edmonds Community College is not presidented by a Black female woman.
Thanks for fact checking.
Yeah, I fact checked myself. But there's another community college north of Seattle that is. Go look it up. Okay. So how do you adjust to not living at home? That's a fantastic question. For me, I was going to high school in Salem. I had moved there during high school, and then came up to Seattle for school. Went to the Seattle Pacific University. It was a wild ride in and of itself. And I think the transition into living away from home, I dove headfirst into it personally. I was just really excited for a new opportunity. I had grown up in Toronto, Canada, in a big city, and I was excited to move back to a bigger city than I had been living in high school. And so I just dove headfirst into it. I was really excited. I think it, like what everyone has said that's been we've talked to tonight has just kind of really summed it up, of like, you got to take risks, you got to step out of your comfort zone, you got to have grace for yourself. But something that struck me is what Brooke just said, and I wish I knew this when I was coming out of high school. I don't just have to be affected by the culture around me. I have the opportunity to help create that culture. And so I just want to affirm that in each of you that might be seeing this. You all have the ability to create culture around you. Whether you know it or not, you are creating a culture around you. If that culture is sitting down and watching Netflix all day, that's the culture that you are participating in and adding to. And so whatever comes next for you, yes, there's going to be a lot that's out of your control, but there's going to be some things that are in your control. And so recognizing that and taking ownership of those things that are in your control, and stepping in with Jesus to create a culture around you that you're excited as best you can be to live in. So I wish I knew that when I was moving out of my house and into the next phase of life. And then finally, I'm just going to leave this because now you're rambling, and that's what I do. You are going to change when you move. And when you go back home, there might be a little bit of a culture shock, because you're going to be different than you were when you were last at home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna encourage you to be ready for that. I'm not gonna tell you how to navigate through it because I don't know. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. But just be ready that you are going to grow a little bit when you step into a new phase of life. So
yes,
there you go. That's what we got.
that is what we got. Hopefully that helped answer some questions, just hearing from some people and their experiences kind of post high school. To end our time, for those that have made it this far, I just want to remind you about the college Zoom call on Friday at 4:30. Register for it so that we know to expect you and can bring in some college students or college staff to meet with you and welcome you to wherever you're going. So please register for that.
So worth it.
We look forward to seeing you then. We are so excited for each of you in this transition and just really want to encourage you to continue to lean into Jesus, continue to lean into your faith, as that is a solid foundation that will exist through all of whatever is next. But yes, we're praying for you. We're thankful for you.
Yes.
That's all we got. Feel free to reach out to us. You can find our Instagram handles somewhere on this page, and we're more than happy to chat and answer any other questions.
Hopefully we see you Friday, and we want to help you get connected. So let us do some of that work for you.
Cool. Bye.